So you think you can compose? And the answer is always yes. Of course you can. Episode 4, ladies and gentlemen. And our visionary for today is Gandhi, also known as Mahatma or Great Soul. Now, this man wasn't only a very successful lawyer spending years working in South Africa, but he was also responsible for the freedom and the independence of India from British rule. And he did this through a path of nonviolence. So the themes that I've come up with and musical characteristics, I feel reflect his character and also his mission. So have a look at this. Theme 1, peace and meditation. I open up with a drone in the left hand, because this is very typical of Indian classical music, and then just a very gentle melody over the top using a traditional raga, which we'll go into a little bit later. Also, when you hear Indian classical music, the meter often changes, or the time signature. So have a little listen to this. All right. Now, as he's on his mission, it's one thing to go at this alone, but he was not alone. There were people that were following him. So there was a sense of collaboration. So I wanted to do that by simply taking the melody and just doubling it up in the left hand. Also, when you hear Indian classical music, their ornamentation is so beautiful. And so I try to do a little bit of this by just adding grace notes into the melody. These little things here. All right, have a listen to this. For law, he studied in Oxford. So I've actually put on the left hand. God Save the Queen is a little tip of the hat to the UK. But I've also combined it with this theme of peace in the right hand. Oh, the irony. All right, have a listen to this. All right, there you have it. What's next? Theme 2. Well, he was very connected to his cultural roots, and so I wanted to play around with some Indian rhythms. So Indian rhythms are known as tal. And I remember quite a few years back, I was performing with a young Indian boy who was playing the tabla, percussive instruments in India. And I remember hearing this rhythm. So I wanted to try and imitate that in the left hand. And then I had a very similar rhythm happening in the right hand. Here it is put together. I gotta practice that. But you hear the idea, the rhythm that's going on between the left hand and the right hand has so much excitement, and this connects back to his love of his culture and music. Now, the scales that you hear are known as ragas, right? So these are the scales or their modes in India, and you hear it mostly in northern India and South Indian music, known in Hindustani music as the northern Indian, and Carnatic music is South India. So the two that I've used, and I've combined them, one is called the Rag Malkons, and it sounds like this. And the other one is the Rag Magashri, and it sounds like this. So if you get a chance, do go onto the site here and study some more of these ragas because they're so beautiful and they're so colorful. Rag-hindustani.com. And so I've decided to play around with these here to give it more of that Indian flavor throughout. Theme 3 is his own courage and resolve. And I've done that by creating the melody just moves by step, very simply. And the interval between the top note and the bottom note is a third, right? Or a compound tenth. And to have the courage, I wanted to put in a chord like it just comes on an offbeat. So if it was on the beat, if it would sounded like, I was like, it doesn't quite have the same feeling of courage, but 1, 2, 3. So that's an idea that you can play around with when you're trying to create something that has that sense of courage or excitement. Put your accents on the offbeats and a melody that moves very gently, nothing too tricky, because the excitement is focused on this offbeat, right? If you have a melody that's jumping all over the place before the offbeat, this has no effect. So just keep that in mind. Something simple, something exciting. And then as we continue, I wanted to give this feeling of the unexpectedness, which comes when you're on a mission, when you're on a journey. You have no idea what's going to come next. So sometimes I like to play around with minor chords that are only moving a skip apart or a half step apart. So if you have a look at this chord here, there's a G minor, and then it moves to A flat major. So now listen how it happens when you put them both together with the melody. All right, so you can play around with that as well, just taking chords that are only a half step apart. G minor to A flat major. Theme 4, compassion and forgiveness. This comes down to voicing. Now you can play triads, which are, say, a chord like this. Maybe we'll take this first one over here, B flat, D, and F. Right, and the next one would be this one here, A, C, and E flat. Now, if you shift this D and you put it into the middle, and you shift the E flat and you put it into the middle, it's going to sound like this, which is fine. But if you take that middle note, right, the D, and you bring it down here, now listen to this. Sorry, I should have made the top note an A flat. So this first chord, second chord, put the note in the middle. To me, that sounds a lot more open, and there's a spirit there of, I feel, of compassion, of reflection, of forgiveness, if you will. And the other thing is keeping it in the higher register rather than here. Not so much. There's a warmth to that. The other thing is, when you have a chord, try spreading the notes out to see what happens. So for instance, you see how far this F and this D is? If I had it sounding like this, a sixth, this is what you'd get. If I bring that D down here, if I bring this D down here to the G to make a fifth, it would sound like this. Now listen to what happens if you have them this far apart. To me, I find that more spiritual. I find that more has a sense of searching. And then I accidentally played a C when I was practicing, but listen to this. Right? That's a beautiful accident. So this is the other thing when you're experimenting with music, don't be shy to play some bung notes, because they might actually come out to be the right note. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of the session over here. I hope some of these 4 themes give you some ideas of how to create the sound for Gandhi. There's so much that you can do with these different themes, but I think the big thing that I want to continue emphasizing is experiment. There's no right or wrong. And when you find sounds that you feel that work, remember them, associate them to a certain mood or a character, and then you can use them again or adapt them for other characters or the stories that you're trying to tell. All right, we'll look forward to seeing you guys again soon at the next episode. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you again soon. Cheers, guys.